let us all do we can to build a better future.
Briahna Joy Gray is bringing the heat. I mean, if we thought her smackdown against Cenk was rough and aggressive, she gives a firm smack, and I mean a firm, mad dog mean slap to a Democratic strategist. I know, Dallas Jones. Dallas Jones didn't realize what kind of arena he was walking into, because he gets smacked, and I mean a nice, firm smack across the face. Because, look, the Democrats, liberals, vote blue. You're in your own reality. And what do I mean by this? Well, first, before I pull up the video of Briahna Joy Gray slapping the Democratic strategist, Dallas Jones. First, hey, here's your dog, Blue MAGA. And again, I tweeted this out. Blue MAGA. Vote blue no matter who crowd. Here's your old, worthless dog, Biden. None of you have a leg to stand on in regards to saying he is fit for the job. What a joke Democrats are. Because Democrats, you are a joke. This is Joe Biden. He's playing with his fingers while talking to the president of Brazil.
Well, first of all, I would like to greet President Biden and to say to President Biden, can you hear me, President Biden? This is a historical moment for Brazil and for the U.S. President Biden, can you hear me? You can? Yes, good.
Again, old dog. And then, hey, his VP. Well, listen. Kamala, you shouldn't speak anymore. I don't even know what the hell you're trying to say. If anyone can ascertain what she is saying, please let me know.
You're touting Bidenomics. They're calling it Bidenflation. What is your take on if with prices going up?
Right. Well, first of all, I think it's important to pay attention to the fact that that prices need to come down in a number of areas, but we have been lowering the cost of living for so many people. But it's a real issue, and I take it seriously.
What was that, Kamala? The entire statement you said didn't add up. And I fear that anyone who listens to it is going to lose a vast majority of their brain cells. But it's okay. After all, we live in a crazy world. My parents in their 20s. Time for us to take a loan for our new house. Oh, look at them. So happy. Me in my 20s. Time for me to take a loan out for Domino's Pizza tonight. Oh, yeah. It's a good way to spend some money there, baby. So let's talk about Briahna Joy Gray slapping some sense into the Democratic strategist, Dallas Jones. He wasn't ready. He was not ready at all.
Is according to Axios. Mike Donilon, a senior White House advisor, telling nervous Democrats that the issues of abortion and Donald Trump will propel Biden to re-election no matter what. According to Axios, in private conversations, some Democrats, however, worry that the White House aides confidence in Biden's 2024 re-election. Hubris.
The White House is ignoring concerns over impeachment talks, Hunter Biden's indictment, Joe Biden's age, and the auto strike facing the country, and instead is continuing to focus its message on, quote, protecting democracy, abortion rights, and a resilient economy. Axios.
Now, I just want to tell y'all, again, this is by no means an endorsement of Donald Trump, but Trump is going to be meeting up with the union strikers in person, face to face. The Biden-Harris administration, we're going to send a team there. That team has since canceled it and will move it to a Zoom meeting instead. Brilliant move there, liberals. Way to lose ground. Politics 101. Distance yourself from voters and don't talk to them face to face, right? That's going to earn you a lot of love in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. It's like you want to lose on purpose. Okay.
That's right. Democratic strategist and CEO of Elite Change, Dallas Jones, joins us to weigh in on these conversations.
This is the face of a man who's not ready.
Currently going on ahead of 2024. Welcome, Dallas.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. So do you think that that's an accurate characterization of what the Democratic Party is saying? That basically there's no need to worry about the age stuff or the Hunter Biden stuff, that at the end of the day, the abortion issue will motivate enough people to come out along with the Stop Trump issue, and that Biden will persevere once again?
Well, I mean, this is exactly what they should be saying. This is what the polling suggests. These are the issues that Americans are concerned about. And so, they have to create a sense of understanding that there is a pathway forward. The other part of this is that, we also have to look at what the issues on the other side are. I mean, for the first time, the Republican nominee, or any nominee for the presidency, will have been indicted a number of times, and who knows what else comes up before the actual election. And so, people are seeing gains in this economy. It's something that the Biden White House should be talking about, and so they're following the pathway that they see to victory.
I've seen people who routinely lie, tell more and give more truthful statements than what I just heard right there. Do the Democrats not realize that they failed to deliver on all of their promises? Do the Democrats fail to realize that the American people are struggling right now? Again, maybe they know and they just don't want to admit it publicly that they're failures. But this is a political party that supposedly is that states that they are on the right side of history, that they care about the social issues. But when it comes down to organizing their own political power and influence, they're completely pathetic at it. Any attempt to try and build their brand has ended in absolute failure. And they constantly have to do mental gymnastics just to make themselves look relevant.
But in poll after poll, Democrats, majorities of Democrats say they really do wish they had another nominee to choose from, that they Americans of all political stripes are concerned about his age. And of course, we're gearing up for just constant inquiries into the Hunter Biden matter, to the extent that, maybe many independent voters, swing voters will say, well,
you know what? And I got to acknowledge somebody here in the live stream chat, because you, my audience, are just too brutal. First of all, Soul Construct says Dallas Johnson looks like he's about to take a dump. And then Larry says, come on, Kit. Don't you know failure is an accomplishment? Pretty much. That's it. That's about it. Yeah. And then Edward Klein says, good Lord, Dallas, have you no dignity defending Jim Crow Joe? And then Credits Born, you have the best comment for the day. Dallas does Joe. Donald
Trump is facing sorts of, criminal things, but Joe Biden's got this thing over here too. It's kind of a wash. Maybe I'll stay home.
I'm smiling because, sure, that's what
I'm smiling because I'm crying inside. I'm smiling because I know I suck.
the polls say, but they don't. They don't have another nominee. And so once the smoke clears and we get beyond this talk about another nominee, whether it be for president, another nominee for the vice presidency, this is the Biden-Harris ticket. And then voters will be forced to weigh the Biden-Harris ticket versus the Trump and God knows who ticket. And so when we add that all up, and when we begin to use our scales to weigh what is in the greater good of the voters, what is in the greater good of the country, democracy is at stake in this election. There have been attacks on
there. Listen. We don't have democracy in this country. Technically, we're a republic. But in all reality, we're an oligarchy. We don't have that anymore, okay? The corporations, the Wall Street executives, the big banks, the top 1% are running the whole show. Oh no, democracy's at threat because Trump, oh no, Trump's in the shadows, Trump's in the bathtub, Trump is in the garbage can, Trump is waiting for me in the garage, Trump is underneath my bed. Oh no, what will I ever do? It's Trump. That's all you got. Democrats, without Trump, you would be irrelevant.
On abortion rights in this country. And people have to weigh these things. And so I think, understanding what the polls say, understanding where the president is right now, today, the reality is that this is how this is going to shape up, unless there is some great uprising in the Republican Party, and they do not do what it appears they are going to do, which is to renominate Donald Trump. And so, we on our side have to do a better job of translating to voters that, look, we have been working to fix the wrongs of the last 4 years of policy before the Biden-Harris administration. We have been working to create a better economy. We have been working to increase opportunities for the middle class. This is the work. And so happy to have a conversation about, where do we go from here? But, what is being presented on the other side is dismal for this country.
Dallas, let's talk about.
This is going to be where Briahna starts giving her smackdown. And it's quite glorious.
Public perception of Joe Biden for a second. From a poll released earlier this month from CNN and SSRS, Biden's job approval rating was at 39%, with 58% of Americans disapproving of his presidency thus far. 46% of registered voters said that any Republican would be better than Biden next year. We discussed a poll yesterday that showed, I think there were 3 Republican candidates, including Tim Scott, I think, and Nikki Haley, that in a head-to-head matchup with Joe Biden, poll suggested that they would beat Joe Biden. And many folks are remembering 2016, a period during which Hillary Clinton almost never got outside of the statute of the.
Hold on. We're going to rewind that. But first of all, JFB. This clown is a shoe shiner. Yeah, Dallas Jones is a good shoe shiner, all right. Hey, Dallas, now go get your shine box. I don't shine any shoes anymore. I don't. I shine Joe's shoes, but they only did that one time.
Tim Scott, I think, and Nikki Haley, that in a head-to-head matchup with Joe Biden, poll suggested that they would beat Joe Biden. And many folks are remembering 2016, a period during which Hillary Clinton almost never got outside of the statute of the deviation of ahead of Joe Biden, except for, I think, couple weeks after the Access Hollywood tape. And it was too close to comfort. And of course, she obviously lost. So for those people who might agree with you that Trump is an existential threat, why not just have a primary to see if there is a Democratic candidate that emerges that can actually fare better against some of these people, not just Donald Trump, but also people like Nikki Haley and Tim Scott, instead of forcing Americans into the situation where they're having to support a lackluster candidate without any sense of what America has to offer.
Joe Biden is the president of the United States of America. We stand by his record as Democrats. Our party.
Oh, God. He sounds like a brainwashed puppy. Go get your shine box, Dallas. You got to shine those Democrats' shoes a little bit better. But get that shiny clean.
Stands behind our president. Our party stands behind the gains that have tried to be that we are working to make.
But Dallas, the voters obviously don't. That's the question. So the majority of Democratic voters don't want Biden to be the nominee. They would prefer.
Oh, he got triggered. Look.
Obviously don't. That's the question. So the majority of Democratic voters don't.
Oh, that face right there. 6 minutes, 19 seconds in. It's like, don't tell people to think for themselves. Stop it with the facts. He can't take it. Oh, he looks so hurt. Look at him. He's hurt. It's such a sad face. He got triggered in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold on. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna rewind that. We're gonna wind that again. And just look at the sad face.
Stands behind the gains that have tried to be that we are
In
working to make.
5,
But Dallas, the voters
4,
obviously don't. That's the
3,
question. So the
2,
majority of
1.
Democratic voters don't want Biden to be the nominee. They would prefer not to have a Biden-Trump matchup. So what do you say to the voters? I get that members of the Democratic Party, people who work for the Democratic Party, people who are bound to party first might feel that way. But what about the millions of American voters who feel like they're having this choice shoved down their throats?
Well, respectfully, polling is not a litmus for the voters. An election is the litmus for the voters, right? And so the voters will determine whether or not they truly reject this president at the voting station. Polling suggested, as you pointed out in 2016, that Donald Trump should have never been president of the United States. And if that
Yeah, well, don't forget also the DNC committed election fraud to deny Bernie Sanders the nomination. The DNC worked with the Clinton campaign to shut down polling stations, kick people off being as registered Democrats, made sure there was a lack of paper ballots, made sure the machines weren't working properly. People waiting 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours in line just to vote. Hill Dog had to lift up Mount Olympus just to cheat. Now, of course, to be clear here, Bernie Sanders was a nutless, spineless wonder. He's the definition of a cuck. But I remember Philly. I remember how Bernie Sanders supporters and Green Party voters were being attacked. I remember that night. I remember what happened. And I remember walking out of Philly thinking, yeah, there's a 50-50 chance Donald Trump could win this. So many people were in their own reality. So let me be clear here as well, just to trigger the liberals. Yeah, Donald Trump has a very good chance to win the whole show all over again. Because Democrats, all what you have is be afraid of Trump. And if you don't vote for Trump, you're a racist. I encourage all of you to stand firm and slap back at these bastards that are going to try and bully you. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them cause fear. Because people like Dallas are the one who are being the ones dictating the strategy. Tell them to go get their frickin' shine box.
polling would have been accurate, maybe we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation today. But it wasn't. It was.
But Dallas, this is my question. If voters decide, why not have an open primary so that voters can actually decide instead of doing what the Democratic Party has done, which is say there's not going to be a primary. We're going to change the order of the primary states in a way that is frankly advantageous to Joe Biden and disadvantageous to other candidates. We're going to promulgate rules that penalize vendors that work for insurgent candidacies. We're going to have a media organization that flatly states things like we are not having a primary, ignoring the fact that there are people who are running in the race, whether or not you like those people, they are running. But the media is largely, the mainstream media is largely lying to the public about that reality. If it is up to voters, why not just have a fair contest and a primary? And if Biden wins it, he wins it. But if he doesn't, well, then the people will have spoken.
That sounds quite reasonable. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for no. Briahna, Drake, don't tell us to think for ourselves. The establishment knows what they're doing. You got to comply, follow orders, and eat the bugs. Don't tell me what to think. Type 2, yeah. In a regular, healthy democracy / republic, usually the people have a voice. Usually the people have a statement. Usually the people, have a say. And yes, what a sight it would be if the Democrats actually had a fair and free primary. Controversial. I wonder how many twos are going to be in the chat. I wonder. Because remember, Nico House and other outstanding commentators and independent reporters did a fantastic job shining a light on the fact that the DNC admitted publicly to everyone that they are a private institution. Controversial statement in a 3, 2, 1 in 2016. Donald Trump was more democratically elected in his primary than Hillary Clinton was. Oops.
Well, and again, I think you made the case like there is a primary that people are able to enter to. We're too far down the line. People have not.
Oh my goodness. He's like, I have nothing to say. I'm really shining the shoes as best I can. I'm trying to get that nice, shiny clean.
Entered into the race, and I mean, what are we honestly talking about? We're having.
What are we honestly talking about? Genius, baby, lovely, darling. Listen. This is too much for your brain to handle. The American people know, and enough former Democratic voters know that the DNC rigs their primaries, and we haven't seen a free and fair election, a decent election in the Democratic Party for quite some time. The game is rigged from the beginning. Marianne Williamson, RFK Jr. What? Okay, great. You're running against Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. You do realize you do realize you're wasting your time, right? Unless you want to be a fool like Cenk Uygur and say, "Oh, I created the Justice Democrats."
The primary. No one has said that they are trying to challenge this president from this side of the aisle.
Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr.
Two people very much have entered to the Democratic primary, as
And he dismisses RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson.
we just said.
And they're running. They are running. They're running.
Yeah, but
And
the
they're not
issue is,
attacking
Dallas, that there's no debates, right? The Democratic Party has chosen its candidate, as they argued in court back in 2016. They had the right to do when Bernie Sanders was challenging the way that they were running the primary at that point. They argued in their own court documents that they don't have to have a fair and open primary, that they can select candidates as a corporation, and that seems to be what they've done in this case. But the question is, while that is their right to do as a legal entity, whether or not that's in the best interest of the American public, who are seeing this and thinking, well, this isn't very democratic.
Well, I mean, again, RFK, his folks are out there. Look, I'm not advocating for any decision that the party apparatus has made in terms of how they're running the primary.
No, listen. I've covered on a previous show and in a previous segment on how RFK Jr. has been calling out how the Democrats are running their primary. Case in point, what's happening in New Hampshire and Iowa. That's right. If you're a Democratic voter in Iowa or New Hampshire, the DNC is going to do everything they can to delegitimize your vote. So that means if you decide to vote for RFK Jr. or Marianne Williamson, the DNC has it within its power to dismiss your delegation and dismiss your votes and acknowledge anything that took place in New Hampshire or Iowa is not relevant or acceptable to the Democratic Party's method in picking who they want for their nominee. They're going to choose South Carolina first because South Carolina is that wonderful state where Obama made that infamous phone call. How can we ever forget 2020?
I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I am saying is that in terms of the poll.
Hold on. I want to ask another question to the audience. Type 3 if you think he's doing a fantastic job defending the Democrats and being an outstanding strategist. Type 4 if, oh my God, he's struggling to swim in 4 feet of water. He can't even do it. He can't swim. He can't defend it. He's just struggling. I wonder how many 4s we're going to get in the chat. I wonder.
Polling and this presidency is that there is a lot of work to be done. I'm not saying that the messaging and translating to the American public what the agenda has been and how it has benefited them has been handled in the optimal way. So what I'm saying is that there's still a long ways to go as we move forward.
There's long ways to go. He has nothing
in this election cycle for there to be gains in the current polling. We've seen it rise, we've seen it fall. And so I think the question about how the primary is handled and what's happening, I think that's something that party officials have to ultimately be responsible for. And if it will cost us the American presidency as a party, that's something that those people that are in charge of making these decisions will have to be.
Aren't you a Democratic strategist? Don't you have influence? You're just giving it all away. You're giving it all away. You're giving you so much rope to hang yourself with. It's kind of pathetic.
Held accountable for.
Dallas Jones, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So look at the look on Robbie. Look at the look on Briahna. They're both smiling like, this guy's a fool. Look how sad he is. Hey, Dallas. Right here. Look at me. Look at me. Dallas. Not only did you embarrass yourself, but Briahna Joy Gray just gave you a firm smack. You know what I got to say to that? Oof. 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 Oof.
Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof.
But see, that's not the first time we saw Briahna Joy Gray smack around another Democrat sycophant. I mean, again, look. Briahna Joy Gray, if I'm nothing, if I'm not consistent, LOL. If you participated in lesser of two evilism, you have more of a casual relationship to Trump's election than third-party voters. Now, who did she say that to in 2016? Why, if we just scroll up. I didn't. To understand why I'm more than comfortable with my voting choice, check out episode 5. But who is she saying that to? Hey, it's Peter Dow. If you voted for Hillary, you should be more proud of your vote with each passing day. If you didn't, well. Again, Briahna Joy Gray, consistent, powerful fighter. But hey, just for old time's sakes, anyone that's trying to debate Briahna, good luck. It's going to get violent. We deserve a laugh after all of that.
Guys, do I look like I don't want to force votes? Of course I do.
One of the moments that I remember of TYT being characterized as no longer capturing the spirit of the Justice Democrats or what the Justice Democrats were supposed to do was the moment around force the vote. And at that time, despite there being a poll that TYT put out of its audience, where a majority of the TYT audience seemed to support force the vote, the newscasters, the personalities on the show, were very much against it. And as I'm sure you can remember, that caused a significant rift. The issue was not whether or not Nancy Pelosi would necessarily become speaker. Cenk, with all due respect, your characterization of what happened, I think, is reflective of the lack of grace and communication that was happening among the left at the time. And I think if people had been less motivated by their personal animosities against each other, it seemed that Jimmy Dore, you've expressed some animosity toward him several times during our short conversation here. I do think if those personal animosities weren't at play, maybe we could have been in a world where you were listening to myself, Crystal Ball, Kyle Kulinski, Cornel West, Chris Hedges, who were also advocating for this and who were being very clear that there were any number of demands. I wrote an article in Current Affairs that set all of this out contemporaneously. So you can go back and look. That it wasn't this idea that we were going to hold the vote and magically get Medicare for all. Cenk, you're talking about personalities. I'm talking about issues. All I know is that David Sirota supported Force the Vote. I had him on my podcast talking about it many times.
That's not true.
Yes, he did.
No,
and he
didn't.
continues to be an advocate that I value and respect a great deal. And he is able, as a mature person, to tease away his personal feelings about human beings that he might share an idea with or a strategy with, and the underlying strategy. And I really do hope that we see more of that on the left and less of a focus on who it is that's delivering a certain kind of a message. Thank you so much for joining us today and talking through some of these tough issues.
You got knocked the fuck out.
Only one word for that, and one word alone. You know what it is. The watchword when Briahna Joy Gray brings the fire to Dallas Jones or Fat Tony. There's only one word. It's oof.
Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof. Oof.
What can I say? Democrats, you're walking into epic failure. And I am going to be feasting on your liberal tears come election night. It's going to be funny to me. Very, very funny.